Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Livestock Clinic. My name remains the same, Mr. Venanti. You can call me the livestock technician. Today, what I'm going to bring on board is poultry structure. Okay. So when we talk about poultry structure, that is the next stage after finding a suitable land. You want to start your poultry project, or you want to start your poultry production. After acquiring the land, the next thing is to put up your structure where your animals are going to sleep. Because you are going to take care of them, they should be at a confined place where you can do the taking care of. Okay. So, having a proper structure makes it all when it comes to animal production. Because you are going to take care of them. If you are unable to give them the proper environment, or if you are unable to give them the proper structure, then you are rather causing them harm than if you were to leave them to roam about on their own. So it's very important when you want to embark on animal production journey, you pay a critical look at the structure you are going to put up for your birds. There are so many considerations you are supposed to consider before you put up your structure. We are going to look at them as we proceed in this video. Yes. So having a suitable structure make it possible that you are able to give them the best climate they can have, so that they can bring out their best. If it's eggs that they are supposed to lay for you, the environment will be suitable for them enough for them to give you the maximum eggs they can give you. And if it is meat you are looking at, for the microclimate around them is suitable for them to put out the muscles that you want. And if it is dual purpose, you are able to get it. And then it makes feeding them very convenient and easy. And then you are able to control disease incidents. So imagine leaving your birds to wander around, so they can go and then pick up disease pathogens and then bring it to the rest. So when they are confined in a place, they are able to prevent them from all this, and then predators and what have you cannot get access to them, rather than leaving them to scavenge on their own. And then it makes the entire work very easy. So imagine your broiler birds are ready for slaughter, or you want to sell them. It makes it easy for you to go in and then pick the quantity you want and sell, as comparable to leaving them to scavenge. It will be very difficult running after them to pick them. Okay, so now let's look at the various poultry structures that can be constructed. So we can have the brooder pen, which can also be known as the chick pen. So this is where your day-old chicks are brooded to 8 weeks in the case of the layer beds, in case you are dwelling layer chicks for them to grow to start laying for you. But in the case of the broilers, at least 3 weeks could be enough. You could brood your day-old chicks for like 3 weeks, and then from there you could transfer them to the main pen to continue the production cycle. Okay, so the next pen we'll talk about is the grower pen. So in the case of layers, after brooding them for the 8 weeks, you transfer them to the grower pen, where they can grow to their egg laying stage. Yeah. So the next pen will be the brooder comb grower pen. So with this, if your resources are not enough to get the separate pens, you can use one pen to serve as your brooding pen at the same time your grower pen. That is if you are dealing with the layer birds. So from the brooder comb grower pen, we go to the broiler pen. So with this, when you are dealing with broilers, after brooding them for 3 weeks, you transfer them to this broiler pen. So with this will be their permanent pen till the day you are going to sell them or slaughter them. Yeah. So from the broiler pen, we go to the layer pen. So when we are dealing with layers, so after keeping them in the grower pen for an additional 8 weeks, you now transfer them to the layer pen, where they can start laying. And there may be structures where laying can be made possible, structures where they can enter and then feel comfortable to lay. Hence, normally feel comfortable when they can hide somewhere to do their laying. If you don't put in structures for them to lay, it will kind of disturb them, because they will spend all their time looking for an obscure place to lay their eggs. So if you're able to mount boxes there for them to lay inside, it will be nice for them. And make sure the boxes are enough for the number of birds you may have, so that when a couple of birds are ready to lay, each and every one of them will get a place to lay. If not, some of them will lay on the floor. And if you are working with deep litter system, definitely, and we are going to talk about deep litter probably in our next video, or any subsequent videos that we are going to upload. So when you are dealing with deep litter, means that your eggs will be on the litter, and then it will be contaminated, or it will be made dirty. So you'd have to pick it up, wash it before you probably sell it. But if you're able to keep them, provide laying structures for them, they enter the lay peacefully, then you come and pick your clean eggs and you're good to go. So from the layer pen, we have automated pens or automated house. So if your resources are enough, or if you have a lot of resources that you'll be able to make your entire pen automated, that one too is very, 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 very nice, because you will control the humidity level, the temperature level, the amount of feed that gets in, waste disposal and everything. You are going to be controlled by you, and it involves a whole lot of resources. You spend a lot to be able to do that, and it's very efficient. So you are assured that your birds are going to do well, because there will not be an environmental interference. So the birds are able to bring out their best, their optimum ability. If it is meat they are looking for, they put on the muscles very well and quickly. If it is eggs, they will lay them, and then you get your eggs. But then the resources you are going to commit in it is very, 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 very high. So we can also have a breeder house in case you have a hatchery, and then you have breeder stock which are producing fertile eggs and feeding your hatchery. Then you could have a breeder house where there will be males and females, that the males will cause the females to produce the fertile eggs that you want. Now let's look at the standard poultry house dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to put a table that will contain the various number of birds and then the dimensions you are supposed to consider in a table form, and then you look at it. We'll put it on the screen for everybody to see. But then I'll give one example. So let's say you have 500 broilers. So the entire area of the pen should be like 50 meters square. The width of the pen should be like 5 meters, then the height should be like 10 meters. The space I'm talking about differs when you're considering the different type of birds that you are going to roll. So the example I gave is broilers, but if you are considering layers, then it will be lesser. The number of birds will be lesser. It will be like half of the broilers. So I mentioned like 500 broilers. So if you were to be considering layers for that same space or surface area, you should have considered 250 birds. Okay, so 250 birds, layer hens, should be kept in an area of 50 meters square. But if it is broilers, you can go as high as 500 birds. So the difference is because layers needs to be comfortable enough to be able to lay very well for you, and then the issue of cannibalism. When you put them together and then there's no enough space for them, they tend to undergo this abnormal behavior of cannibalism, which would result in you not getting the frequent laying that you would have got. So, and then when you put them together, the stronger ones would always prevent the weaker ones from getting access to feed, and this will go along with prevent them from laying, and you will not get your eggs. But broilers, on the other hand, the crowding is not really a problem, but if you make it overcrowded, then it becomes a problem for them too, because they will compete with each other for the limited resources like feed and water, and then the ammonia buildup, in case you are practicing deep litter system, would also be too much for them, and you start recording mortalities. But making their number minimum would result to no problem. So the standard is 500 broilers to a total surface area of 50 meters square. So the structure, the width will be 5 meters, the length will be 10 meters. Okay, so the remaining we put on the table and then displayed on the screen for everybody to see. So this standard dimension goes for deep litter system. If you are going with a battery cage, then you can put as much as you want in each of the cages. So this dimension I gave is for deep litter system, which is mostly practiced. Yeah. And then let's now look at the orientation of your structure. So your structure cannot just be oriented anyhow. The standard orientation of your structure should be that the long axis of your structure should be in the east-west direction. So by so doing, your birds will not be exposed to sunlight and then rainfall if it happens. So let's now look at the size of your poultry pen. So with the size of the poultry pen, it depends on the number of birds that you want to rear, the available land space. Yeah, these two criteria determines the size of your pen. If you have a very large land mass and then you want to rear a lot of birds, why not? You can have a very large poultry pen. So now let's look at the length of the pen. So the length of the pen can be any extent, depending on the same parameters, which is the land that you have and the number of birds you are considering. So if you are considering a lot of birds, and then the land and the line you are considering is very a long one, then definitely the pen will also be very long. So the length can be to an extent, provided the surface area is enough for the number of birds you are considering. The standard dimension you can have for the width should be around 20 to 25 feet, so that the middle of the pen can be rated. Any dimension bigger than this will prevent air from getting to the middle of the pen. It may get on the surface, but then the middle, the air will not be able to get there. So if your house happens to be bigger than this dimension I've mentioned, the 25 feet, then what you need to do is that you need to provide a rich ventilation, which will carry out all the gases, the ammonia and what have you, that will be stuck in the middle. It will carry it away. So if you check your pen and it is more than the 25 feet, then the rich ventilation is very good for you. But if you are dealing with an environmentally controlled poultry pen, then the width can be as high as 40 feet, because you are going to have ventilation fans that will blow in air to keep every part of the pen ventilated. So you don't really need a smaller pen if you are dealing with the controlled environment. And in all of this, it depends on the number of birds you are dealing with. So if your birds are too small, there will be no need giving it a wider width. You can make the width small so that air can pass through all the parts of the pen. Okay, so now let's look at the height of the poultry pen. So at the side widths, the height is supposed to be 5 to 6 feet from the concrete floor to the roof, but in the middle of the pen, the height should be 10 to 12 feet from the concrete to the top of the gable. Okay, so now let's look at the floor space. You see, your floor should always be concrete, because there will be rodents that will bore holes through to the pen. So if you make it a concrete floor, it makes it difficult for them to get into your pen to transmit disease pathogens or probably feed on your feed. So your concrete should be 1 to 1.5 feet down below the ground level, and then another 1 to 1.5 2.5 feet above the ground level, so that rodents cannot gain access into your pen. So the concrete should be 1.1 feet away from 1.1 feet outside the wall. So let's now look at the doors of your poultry structure. When you are dealing with deep litter, the door frame should be 6 by 2.5 feet. Yeah, 6 by 2.5 feet. That will be enough for a deep litter system. And then you should endeavor to put a foot bath at the entrance of the door, and then put some disinfectants in it, so that whoever that gets into the pen will step on it, and if the sandals carries any disease pathogen, the disinfectants will wipe them out before it is introduced into the pen. It's very, very, very important, because usually you start a new farm, there are no diseases there, but then people will carry it from somewhere and bring it to your farm. And so it's very, very important that you have your foot bath there, so that whoever comes in there will step on the foot bath before entering the pen. Your pen should also have some side walls, but the walls shouldn't be tall enough. At least 1 to 1.5 feet high should be okay, because at the end of the day you need maximum ventilation to get into your pen. So if you make it higher than this, it will be very difficult for the base of the your pen should be rated, especially when you are dealing with deep litter system. So 1 to 1.5 feet should be okay. This height, it should be okay for your pen, in that rain cannot get into it, and then the sun cannot really get into your pen. So at this height it will be so normal for it will be. So another stage is the roofing. So with the roofing, you can go with whatever roofing you want. You can go with the thatch, or you can go with the aluminium sheets, or corrugated sheets, or asbestos. Whatever roofing material you could get is virtually okay. The baseline is that it shouldn't be leaking, so that water will get into your pen to kill your birds. So far as your roofing material will be able to will be waterproof, it will prevent water from getting into your pen, you are good to go. So you can use any cheaper roofing material you could get to do your roofing. It's not necessarily going to buy the expensive one. The baseline is that you are cutting down costs, so any material that could serve that purpose, provided the cost is lower. Okay, so let's now look at the lighting. So your lighting should be 7 to 8 feet above the ground level, and then when you are using incandescent bulbs, then the spacing between your bulbs should be 10 feet. But if you are using fluorescent bulbs, the distance should be 15 feet. You should have another structure that will serve as an office, a storeroom, where you can keep your feed, you can keep your medication, you can keep your drugs and what have you for your birds. So that structure could be any structure of your choice. Whichever design or whichever form you want to build it, you can build it. We don't necessarily have any standard measurement for that one. You can build it any way you want it, provided there's enough space for you to keep your feed and your medication, and then the environmental condition is okay for your feed to survive over there. There are rodent-proof measures to take place to prevent rodents from getting into your feed to destroy them. So this is a sum up of what you are supposed to consider when it comes to putting out structure for your poultry birds. So the necessary nitty-gritties have been mentioned, but in case if you have any particular area that wasn't mentioned, you could put it at the comment section, and then we'll get back on that and then give you your answers. Probably there are certain parts you would have expected us to touch on which we didn't touch. You could put it in the comment section, and then we'll come and read it, and we'll feature it in our next video. Thank you for listening to us, and there's more where this came from. Keep on watching this channel, and then we'll come your way with all the tips that you can think about. Bye.